Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. My guest today is Dr. Jervette Ward, tenured professor and director of the Black Studies Department at the City College of New York. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is that until recently it was a program.
It was.
And you have made it a department. Let's talk about that. Thank you so much, Dr. Ward.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I enjoy being in this space, and this is inspiring.
I
love your new set.
You're the first guest in our brand new set, season 10. We're starting off here.
I am honored.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I mean, and you come with the very good news. I mean,
I do.
For people who are not in the in academia, they may not understand how important it is to have a department as opposed to a program. Tell us.
Yeah, it's so
about
incredibly important. So a program, of course, is inside of a department and normally has to respond to and adhere to departmental rules for other departments. And now Black Studies in CUNY at CCNY, the City College of New York, the flagship of CUNY in Harlem, that Black Mecca, has a Black Studies department again, and we are excited to have that. And actually, I'm officially now the chair, because when you're a program, you're a director, but when you're a department, you're the chair.
Congratulations for all of that. You know, when I was reading this, I said, you know, now this is a step forward in the right direction when almost everything we've been hearing about Black Studies programs and departments, et cetera, has been the reverse, the lessening of their importance and stature. So how did this happen?
Yeah, this is a long process, so I am honored to be here at the end. One of the things that we've been talking about with different administrators and leaders at CCNY is that this has been almost like a good relay race. We're coming out of the Olympics, right? I don't know if anyone else watched women 4x1 or 4x2 relays, but I'm a big track fan. So many people who have been working on this for so many years, and I kind of saw myself as the last leg with the final pass off of the baton to bring this home. So where it started, though, is in 1969. And you might even say that it started even before that, because there were so many people who wanted and longed for Black Studies to be elevated inside of Harlem, a place where Black people have, you know, come together for music and art and literature and so much over the years. And so in 1969, you had a group of Black and Puerto Rican students on the campus of City College who held what is now called the takeover. They held the campus hostage for a little over 2 weeks, and they made some demands of CUNY, of CCNY, and they made 5 demands in particular. And demand number 1 was for the creation of a Black Studies department or school at the flagship of the CUNY system.
Right in the middle of Harlem.
Right in the middle of Harlem.
It should be.
Where it should be, right? It makes sense.
Right. Well, now I know that we are in the midst of the documentary about that takeover. I am just dying to see the whole thing, but we've been looking at the trailer. This is airing on PBS. Let's take a little look at that, of how this all started back in 1969.
The first thing that struck me, coming through Harlem, surrounded by Harlemites, my folks, and then entering the college and finding there weren't any of my folks.
We had to have a strategy on how to open the doors for more people like us.
Black and Puerto Rican students chained the gates to City College of New York, closing it.
Shall be free, yeah. We shall be free. Everybody gonna get together and walk like you and me. We shall be free, yeah. We shall be free. So power to the people, power.
So great. The 5 demands. The five demands. And we've been talking about what the other demands were. So now you have the department.
We have the department. Yeah, you gave me a little quiz beforehand, but I'm ready. So let's do this one.
Well, what were the other 5? And that's amazing that they held the school hostage for 2 whole weeks. I mean, That's incredible.
The documentary is amazing, and Andrea Weiss and her students and Jezebel Productions, who of course has made this film that tells the story of CCNY and the takeover, of course airing right now on PBS, and it is amazing. I definitely hope that you get to see the whole thing, but it's an honor to be able to help tell that story. They have this film out, of course, that says, here are the 5 demands, and then to come and join CCNY to help create that first demand, which of course was the creation of a department or school of Black and Puerto Rican studies. Then 2.
Yes.
2
Your
was
test.
Here's the test. Let's see. I have my notes here though? Okay, so an orientation.
I have my notes here.
Okay, so
Right.
an orientation
Right.
for Black and Puerto Rican students, where
Right.
Black and Puerto Rican students who are a minority on the campus would have their own orientation program to bring them into college life. Number 3, a voice for Sikh students. So Sikh, of course, is an unbelievable program inside of CUNY that helps students get prepared for or make them college ready,
Sure.
in essence. And so Sikh students were asking for a voice in both administrative decisions, curricular decisions, all of those types of things. So that would be 3. 4, the racial composition. There was a demand that the racial composition of CUNY and its colleges and universities represent New York public schools and the New York area, which is a radically amazing demand that you would think college students, 18, 20-year-old students, are saying these are the things that we are demanding of our institution for us to have a better experience, and not just for ourselves, they're asking for this for other people. So it was a very selfless demand. And then number 5, of course, was that Black and Puerto Rican history and Spanish language be a requirement for all students coming through the CUNY system.
What a wonderful portfolio of demands, you know.
And these students, so many of them are still around. So if we think about the last part that you saw of the clip was the 50th anniversary of the takeover. But just this year, May 4th, which is a special day for me, it's also my birthday.
Really? All of this happened on your birthday?
All on my birthday.
Lucky you. So here's your department.
On May 4th.
And you were a chair.
Yeah. I got to bring together for the 55th anniversary of the takeover, students in the Black Studies department right now who've been working with the department with those students. Some of the 10 students who were part of the original takeover came together for the 55th anniversary celebration. And it was so amazing to see these young student activists of now interacting with these still young student activists of the past.
Right.
And for them to be able to share their wisdom, for them to be able to share their insights, because activism is such a big part of Black studies. It's not just an academic discipline, but it's a discipline that calls us to a higher calling of standing for those whose voices aren't being heard.
Sure, sure. And it's a long 55 year.
A long 55 years.
But there was a hiccup. There were courses being taught and until, what was it, 1996, and then suddenly CUNY shut down the program. And so what was that all about?
Yeah, so you have the creation of the Black Studies Department in '69, and then in '96, you have the dismantling of the department, and it was made into a program. And that is part of the long, complicated history of the bureaucracy of CUNY, and some administrative struggles that were happening behind the scenes between the former leader of the department at the time and the institution. And of course, this was all documented in the New York Times and I think African American Review, one of the academic journals, as they were struggling with how to integrate, in essence, Black studies into an institution that has not only a white history, but also a Jewish history as well. And it was a very complicated time. And so in '96, you have it dismantled. And then you have this period of just having a program, but still a major. So you could still get a degree and a minor in Black studies, but it was underneath other departments. And then 2024, July 1st, you have a department again.
So that is the good news in what is a landscape that is not such good news.
That
so
is
what
a good
you've
question.
accomplished here is extraordinary. You know, all across the country, they're trying to dismantle Black Studies programs. You know, insisting that it's discriminatory and not history and not what, you know, et cetera. So talk about that.
Yeah, that is a great question, and two, absolutely accurate. All across the country, we're seeing the rolling back of diversity and inclusion initiatives. We're seeing the challenges to teaching Black and African American and minority histories and literature and language in general. And in a lot of ways, I see this as part of what happened or what we saw after the Civil War. If you think about what happened with the Civil War, you have Black people, the formerly enslaved people, gaining their rights, having this moment of freedom. And you have white supremacy, of course, still again going, oh no, this is too much. How dare they have all of these rights and opportunities? They might have more than us. They might be able to do more. And so you have, during that Reconstruction period, of course, the rise of the Klan, the rise of the White Citizens Council down in the South, where they are terrorizing and trying to make sure Black people stay in their place. And so you have that moment. Well, if we fast forward to many, many years later, we have these amazing moments of the first Black president. We have the moments of Black Lives Matter coming, where people are resisting the oppression and the brutality. And again, you see white supremacy going, oh, no,
Right.
that's too much freedom. That's too high of an office. That's too much happening. And you see that backlash happening again. So I would say this is very much almost a repeat. History is very cyclical in some ways.
Right.
Of that type of terrorism, but happening in a very modern sense, happening on social media, happening, of course, sadly, all the way into the presidency and the elections that we're seeing over the last couple of years. You're seeing this backlash, this dismantling, because there's a desire to not have Black people, to have Puerto Rican people, to have minorities in power and authority, or to even be seen as equals.
So we were talking earlier, and you said that Columbia University is holding a seminar, a summit on Black Studies, and you're one of the speakers. What will you be saying? What is are you cautionary? Are you on the side of, you know, how do we say? What are you saying?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question that ties into the second part of your last one. I'll be talking about what does Black Studies need right now, because it's amazing to have a department back, right? To have it reestablished, and that's wonderful. And it was a lot of, you know, administrative and bureaucratic work to get to that point. But now that we're here, what do we do now? What happens now? And now we have a revamping of the curriculum, of thinking about what do students need to be ready right now to enter into society and the world, being trained in Black Studies. How do we best do this work? And one, that's fundraising is one of them,
Right.
because the department, before it existed, of course, just as a program, you didn't necessarily have funding opportunities. That's one of the reasons why it's important to be a department and not a program. And so raising funds to help faculty members do their research, raising funds so that students can have scholarships in Black Studies, also to hire faculty. The Black Studies department at CCNY is one of the smaller departments because it's absolutely new. We're only a couple months old at this point. So there are funding needs that have to happen. Space. One of the things that we often think about, especially now that I'm in New York, is space.
Forget about it.
Yeah, but we
Get used to.
But the department has to have an actual office space, and so we're in the process of having that renovated and established in historic Shepherd Hall at CCNY, which of course is where the students first took over the Great Hall back in 1969. So it's all coming together.
Love all of this history. What you mentioned changing the curriculum. What are you teaching now, and what would you say the most important courses are that students need to receive in the department?
Right. So, of course, all students who are in the Black Studies major, of course, have to take the 100, 200 introductory courses to Black Studies to get that foundational knowledge. Because oftentimes students will come in, and I'll give you an example of one. They'll be like, oh, lots of enslaved people were lynched. Everybody was lynched during slavery. And it's like, well, let's talk about that. What does that actually mean? And we have to look at actual timelines and dates and the rise of lynching in America, which of course did happen before and during the period of enslavement. But the real rise of that is, of course, after.
Sure, the 20s, 30s, 40s, right?
Exactly, after the
Right.
end of the Civil War. And so we have to start with some basic knowledge. And so we start there. But one of the things that we're talking about currently is practical application. Because one of the questions we often get is, what do I do with a Black Studies degree? What do I do with a Black Studies major? And there's so many people who have had that major or minor in their background all the way to Michelle Obama. She was a Black Studies minor. Exactly, as well. And so we want to have the practical knowledge. So we have a practicum course where students get to do work, learning how to do press releases and project management and thinking about their writing skills and public relations and photography and all of those different things that are literally looking at these different disciplines, but centering Black people as they do it. And so the practicum course is actually where the students this year hosted the 55th anniversary for the students from 69. They planned, organized, did the project management, did the photography, everything through that course. And so to have students in 2024 having a course where they can not only learn about their own history of their own campus from 69,
Right.
but also get real life applicable skills to pull off a project that honors those students in 69, that's the type of work that we try to do in Black Studies.
Right, and so for those who graduate with a major and want to teach, what are you saying to those people? Are the jobs still out there? Are they diminishing? What's the...
I think that jobs across all fields, of course, are changing. And so one of the things that we have to think about is, are we preparing students for the right now? And so just this week, I was meeting with some students, and we're getting ready to have some student forums where we're asking them, what do you need? What do you want? And then taking that with our expertise, of course, coming from being trained in the discipline. They very much want to be able to be technologically savvy. That's incredibly important. I think jobs across the board are asking for people with great communication skills. Can you write? Can you articulate a thought on the spot? Can you synthesize knowledge? Those are the types of things that we're trying to make sure that people can do coming out of Black Studies. So if you're talking about going on to law school or going on to psychology or being a psychiatrist, we can think about the fact that there's a lack of Black psychologists and psychiatrists out there, and mental health, of course, is one of those major things that people are talking about. Well, if there's a lack of them for Black people and people aren't thinking about the needs of Black people, what can Black Studies do to help you prepare for that, to think about that? Those are the things that we're trying to do.
Right, right. I want to talk a little bit about your writing.
Okay.
So tell us about Zora.
Yes. So it's very cool to be at CCNY in Harlem because I am a Harlem Renaissance scholar. I'm from Memphis, and when we think about Harlem, when we think about Zora, of course, that's part of that great migration. And you have so many people coming up from the South, from Memphis or down in the Jackson, Mississippi area where my parents are, coming up to Harlem. And I studied Hurston's last novel in particular, which is one that people don't talk about very much. People often talk about Their Eyes Were Watching God.
Sure.
We know the film with, Halle Berry and the incredibly fine Michael Ealy, who played in that. We know the film, we know the book. But Hurston had a last novel, Seraph on the Swanee, the one that she did right before she died. And it's the only novel that she wrote about white people. And it was incredibly fascinating because she took these poor white people from Florida and she still had them speaking in a dialect that we.
She was masterful.
Right, wasn't she masterful with it? She still had them speaking in a dialect that people associated with Black people. And it made a lot of people mad. Black people were like, wait, you've been writing about us our whole life and now you're writing about white people? And white people were like, wait, you're writing about poor white people and you're making them sound like Black people? What's going on? So everybody blasted her for this novel, which of course meant I had to study it. I had to.
Right.
And so that was the one that I decided to look at and try to understand, what is Hurston doing with these linguistic patterns? What is she trying to tell us about the way people think, about the way people are, about the way they talk? What does it mean for someone to speak in what is called African American Vernacular English, or AAVE, but not be African American? What does that do? How does that complicate our understanding of people in society? And Hurston was brilliant. As a trained anthropologist.
I know, that's the thing that the
Right.
students can learn from. She was not kidding around.
She was not.
She did years of on-the-ground research, recordings, and I mean, an extraordinary life that,
Extraordinary.
fortunately was resuscitated, by writers like yourself and Alice Walker and all who saved her. But such a great deal of work that went into her writing.
It did, and because she studied people and knew them so well, she was so incredibly prepared to be able to defend in her writing and say, no, you can have white people who speak this way. You can have Black people who speak this way. She was doing sociolinguistics before a lot of people even knew that people were doing sociolinguistics. And she was making a very valid point about the ways that social class and region and our family structures affect and influence the ways that we speak. And that was one of the things that I was most intrigued by, especially about its connections to social class.
Right now you're working on a new book. Which...
I am working on a new book, which is kind of, I guess, a segue from what I did after Hurston. So I also have Real Sister, Black Women in Reality TV is what that book is about. So that one is an edited collection that came out with Rutgers some years ago. And Black women, stereotypes and respectability is what it looks at. And from there, I, of course, was fascinated with popular culture. You can't start watching reality TV as a scholar and end up writing on it without going even further. So the new book project, Black Women versus Everybody, is looking
I love the title. Black Women versus Everybody. Right.
It's looking at Black women intellectual genius. So there's this one really cool episode of the spinoff of Blackish, so Grownish, where they're talking about intellectual geniuses in music. And just to do a quick synopsis of it, everyone they're listing are men. Every single genius in music. And someone finally recognizes, wait, we haven't talked about a single woman. And that episode really made me go, intellectual genius. And in music, there are a lot of them out there. I could think of a few just off the top of my head. Well, if that's in music, what's happening in every single other space? Where are we recognizing or even representing the intellectual genius of Black women? And
well, can't wait for it. It's going to be a lot in that. Is that next year? I don't know. So, or you have so many other things.
Are you going to help write a few pages and then we can do a little faster now? A collaborative experience?
I'll come over and watch the show.
Oh, wow. The hard work part.
But I can't wait for that. And also I understand you've got a festival coming up that's going to be honoring Roxane Gay, wonderful writer.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yes, so we host the annual Langston Hughes Festival at CCNY, and last year, well actually this year was the 45th annual, so next year will be the 46th annual. And the festival honors great writers who have come through these spaces. And the very first recipient, of course, was James Baldwin. And we're, of course, getting ready to honor and celebrate the centennial Memorial of Baldwin. So Baldwin received the very first one. And there have been so many amazing folks over the years we've had the opportunity to recognize and to have come to campus, from Margaret Walker Alexander to last year's or this year's Colson Whitehead, and then for number 46, which will be February 13th and 14th, 2025, we'll be able to honor Roxanne Gay. And so she will be on campus for the 13th festival, and then the 14th, we're having our special Black Love celebration as a part of the festival.
And what's that, Black Love? Black Love.
Well, what is Black Love, or what is the because that's a much larger question.
I don't think we have time for the deeper meaning.
Yeah,
but
what is love?
Right, right.
So there was actually this really cool photo that I stumbled across in a New York Times article earlier this year. And in 1925, Langston Hughes, and you know, people think of him for all of his great writings and scholarly, but Hughes liked to have some fun too. I mean, he was a person just like all of these people. And there's this great picture of Hughes in front of historic Shepherd Hall, which is on CCNY's campus, having a breakfast celebration with a group of friends. And they're all posed looking like they're having the best time. And Shepherd is right behind. And we started thinking about, well, if this was 100 years ago, and 2025, we have this opportunity to celebrate the amazing author that is Roxanne Gay, who has written about love, who has written about acceptance, who's written about love of self, love of others. Why don't we add a special thing, since the next day after her talk is Valentine's Day, and talk about Black love? And this is the Langston Hughes Festival, and Hughes was on right outside of campus.
Right.
And we need to raise some money for Black Studies. Let's do this. So we're having a breakfast on Valentine's morning to celebrate Black love in all of its manifestations. The ways that Hughes celebrated it, the ways that Roxanne Gay celebrated it, the way that you all want to celebrate it, and also to honor and to help support Black Studies.
Fantastic. It all sounds wonderful. No, I just recently found a copy of Langston Hughes' poems, all 891 of them, and I bought it, and somebody said, why? You know, and I said,
why not?
I know. It's fabulous. 891 poems. That'll keep me going a few years.
Yeah. Well, actually, that you're speaking of his poetry.
Right.
It was one of his poems that also inspired the idea of the breakfast, because he has a poem that I found stitched on a pillow in a really cool shop in Harlem. I wish I could remember the name right now, because it's a really amazing Black-owned shop. But it says, the line from the poem is, in essence, I first fell in love in Harlem. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
That's how we start this year.
That is
we start
great.
with love.
That is great. Well, this is just fantastic. You're so wonderful to join us. I'm so excited about the program. That's
Department.
The department.
Department.
And you are the chair.
Yes.
I know, and you're in my neighborhood, so I'm going to come over, and that, you know.
To help write, right?
Oh,
That's what we agreed to.
Exactly. You know, I will read your notes. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of fun. You are so terrific, and I'm so glad that you are the chair and that you're in charge with keeping it and growing it, and, you know, so we're rooting for you to raise some funds for it.
Yes, I appreciate that. Black Studies Department website, go there. You can make a donation right now, tomorrow.
Great. Well, thanks to Dr. Jervette Ward, chair of the newly reestablished Black Studies Department at the City College of the City University of New York in my neighborhood, Harlem. We look forward to hearing more about the great things that will come from your work, both as a writer and as chair of this department. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to you all for joining us as well. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. We'll see you the next time. And now you can download the CUNY TV app in your Apple Store or in Google Play and find us there.